Hey guys, Otak here, back with another regional vlog, because, have I really vlogged the past ones? I'm gonna try this time. I'm actually gonna try. We're going to the Greenville Regional this time around, and just like the last Greenville Regional, I'm rolling up with Chimera. It was a really hard decision. I was going to roll up with Voiceless Voice, but last minute I kind of decided Voiceless just really isn't my deck. Just all the testing I was doing, it just felt worse and worse every time. Every opening hand just was so unplayable. And I know statistically, Voiceless is a better deck than Chimera, and I don't know, it's just not my kind of deck. So I'm playing branded Chimera, because, I think that's the better version of Chimera right now. Pure is getting some toppings, which is cool, but as of right now, I don't think Pure is better at the moment. It's a lot more flexible because you don't get locked into fusion summoning, so D barrier isn't like a big issue. But yeah, so we're rolling up to Chimera. It also just feels like destiny. The last time I went to Greenville, I got really close to my invite, and I was playing branded Chimera. So I've severely improved since that regional, which was about a year ago. And last regional at Bainbridge, if you watched that video, I became the closest I've ever gotten with pure branded. So it feels like the stars are aligning here, that Chimera just kind of felt like the right deck to play. And especially with all the new support that it's got, I think this is going to be my regional. So stay tuned. Like I said, I'm going to try and actually vlog.
All right, worst of the year right here. Let's go.
Well, hold on. There's still plenty of time.
No.
Terminal Revenge has potential to be bad.
No, don't you say that, but my Sky Striker set.
Please.
Okay. We got a whole lot of. We got some Melodious cards.
Yo, you got Tempai.
We got a Tempai card. That's crazy.
London, it's not that serious.
All right. We got the same exact cards as the last one.
Oh shit! Repeat.
We got Ashen. We got a Concerto. We got another Tempai card. Oh, Minerva.
Oh, got Minerva.
Oh, whoa.
Got the Ultra.
Whoa. That's broken.
I think that's like $5.
Yes. Be exactly 50 cents of the vendors out there. Let's go.
You're not wrong.
Cards. Bam.
Oh, that looks familiar from my entry packs last time.
Yes, I also got the same one.
Two more, come on.
Ass.
QCR. You got an Ultra and a Secret last time, so.
I did.
I got faith.
Bam.
Oh,
no.
Got the
It's not
the fake Dandelion.
Yeah. Just not the regular one.
Ma, I want Dandelion unbanned. We have Dandelion at home.
Dandelion, exactly. We got Dandelion at home.
Alright, last pack.
Bam. Oh!
Whoa!
The third Oxua.
You have 3 now.
I have a playset that I don't need.
Alrighty. Feel it. QCR Nightmare Princess.
Yes. You're broken out here today.
Oh, Nightmare
Throne. Wait,
oh,
he already did better than I did.
Hello.
One pack in and he's already up.
Let's go. I'm gonna have to message Arjun immediately. Ancient Gear Dark Golem.
Yes.
The Poser.
The Poser.
Ancient Gear's edgy cousin. Oh.
Yes, Gold Pride. Good
Yes.
cards. Let's go.
Oh shit.
Oh, the not Dandelion again.
Make it stop. We're getting the same shit. Yeah, if I pull that Zark, we're gonna have problems. Okay.
Yes. We're broken.
You can't make that up.
We're broken.
You can't make that up. What the fuck? I actually called it. Ooh. Ooh, you're looking like my packs from last time. I also started multi-universe.
Let's see.
Ooh.
Yes, the witch.
Ooh. Oh. Another super.
We're just gonna keep.
We're gonna get 5 supers.
Yeah, we're gonna keep losing. Nah, we're gonna win. We win here. Right now.
Yes, Diabells. Let's go.
Yeah, we win right now. And we're gonna win one more time. I am blessed and highly favored.
Come on, last pack luck.
Oh, well.
No dice.
Alright, so round 1, I 2-0'd the mirror match. Well, kind of the mirror match. He was playing pure, I was playing the branded version, but I got it. So game 1, I go first, I win the die roll. I set up a pretty strong board with the Baphomet Fusion, a couple of bodies on board in defense mode, and Diabells. And then I have 1 Chimera Fusion set. He goes to set 1 card, and I kind of think it's a bluff. I don't know what he's playing, and if I'm playing against Tenpai, I obviously want to hit the field spell, not the quick play or any sort of bluff. So I just let it through. It's Prosperity. Immediately I see he's playing the mirror match. Turns out this Prosperity is key because it ends up causing him to lose the grind game, because he does end up kind of breaking my board. He doesn't kill me, but he searches out the Candle Boy, so that way I can't kill him. We get to my turn, I end up re-breaking his board, essentially. I normal summon Albaz, eat out his Baphomet. He has a Super Poly set, because he added it off Prosperity, and I end up making Mirror Jade, banishing what came out on the Super Poly that he later used, and so he has like a wide open board, but he has Candle Boy, so I just choose to pass, not to hit him, because I don't want the Candle Boy hitting the board, and I know he has 2 cards in hand. This ended up again costing him the game with the Prosperity, because he banished one of his 2 Baphomet Fusions, which he lost the grind game because of it, and he passed, he ended up scooping game 1. Game 2, he goes first. This is when I found he's playing pure, because he ends up summoning Beatrice on his end board. And he has a pretty lackluster board, and I get like 3 cards in, and he has 2 cards set. I'm pretty sure one is Super Poly, and the other one is Chimera Fusion. He only has Beatrice on board, and turns out he had a Mirror Sword Knight and Diabells in his hand. And he tries to use Chimera Fusion, and I say, you don't have a Beast or a Fiend, so he ends up scooping game 2. So we're currently X0 on round 1. Let's keep it going. All right, sorry about the lighting. The area I'm using to record, just no lights. Round 2 and 3. Round 2 went against Tenpai, shocker. Game 1, I went first. I won the die roll again, and I set up a pretty unbreakable board. I play through 2 Veiler and 2 Droplet. I play through 2 Veiler and I rip a Droplet. Off of end phase, and he scoops. He doesn't see like any engine. He sees the Hydra, but Mirror Sword Knight, no big deal. Game 2, he chooses to go first, and he sets up Seals and Fenrir, and it was just barely enough. I couldn't beat him in the grind game. He also, then in game 3, I went first, and he had Mag, and then I should have gone for the Simul. I went for the D barrier off of Thrust, and he had Cross out. So I learned from that mistake that I should probably just go Simul. It's probably more impactful against the Tenpai than D barrier, since they're running Cross out. So got an L in round 2. Round 3, I went against Snake Eye. Pure. Lovely. Game 1, again, I win the die roll, and I go first. Again, set up a pretty nasty board. He just doesn't really play. Game 2, he does a pretty okay board, and I'm looking at my hand, and I am able to break it, but he flips D barrier, and my deck has 2 options to kind of play around D barrier. I just didn't have the hand to do that, unfortunately. So yeah, there was that. Game 3, I just played poorly. I activated Brand Fusion, it resolved, and I decided to go for the Dragoon line instead. I had 2 Gazelle in hand. I had a really bad hand. I should have just sent Albaz and the other Gazelle to make Rinbrum to use the Gazelle to get to the rest of my deck, because I didn't have any way to the illusion half of the deck. But I went for the Dragoon line for some reason. I just kind of got greedy, and He Valored the Lubellian, and yeah, the rest is history. Another L. I'm X2. I'm definitely not getting top 8. I still have the chance to get the top invite. It's top 36, I think is what it was. 8 rounds, so we'll just have to see. My morale is definitely down, but I'm at least play it out one more. If I lose again, I'll probably just drop, but stay tuned. All right, round 4 and round 5. We're on the up again. I won both rounds. Round 4, I'm against Heroes. I win the die roll. Again, I'm on a roll with the die rolls. Win the die roll, set up a fairly impressive board. He attempts to do things, can't break it, goes to game 2 immediately. Game 2, he uses Rivalry and Dark Angel. I can't play through it. Literally, I didn't activate a single card. I just said game 3. Game 3 was scary because we did like 4 rounds back and forth of just like nothing interacting with each other. Pretty bad hands all around. So at the end of the day, though, I did end up winning. I ended up finding my part of the deck before he did. So we won round 4. Round 5, I'm up against Snake Eye again. And game 1, I set up a very, very good board. The only part of interaction he had was Valor, to which I had Cornfield engraved by that point. So I stopped that. And he drew a card, and we went to game 2. At this point, I don't know he's playing Snake Eye. The only thing I've seen is Valor, so I have to assume either Snake Eye or Tenpai. Regardless, I'm assuming I'm going second in this scenario, so I side 2 Mind Controls and a Change of Heart and Bish Shields, because if it's Tenpai, then that's wasted. If it's Snake Eye, that's good for the IP. Game 2, he sets up a pretty good board, but once again, D barrier. I actually do, in this scenario, get the Chaos Angel out, but it just wasn't enough. He had a full established board, and it was a only dark Chaos Angel, so it was allowed to be affected by other card effects. Game 3, I go first. I set up an okay board. Nothing super impressive, and he opens Cosmic, and he banishes the Fusion Duplication, and at the time I didn't have anything in the graveyard other than 1 Chimera Fusion, but it wasn't live yet, unfortunately. He ends up getting a pretty okay board in the sense that I was able to summon Wengu. In this game I sided Wengu and the Dark Statue. However, I went for Wengu instead because the only way he can out Wengu is Imperm, or if he gets the Temple and he starts summoning the Snake Eyes, then they're no longer 1400 or under. So it was a risk I was willing to take, but it also played around Bishiels. It's at this point that, no doubt, he's probably siding Bishiels against a deck that summons Light and Darks often. I ended up getting Wengu on the board. I ended up kind of slowing him down and stopping him from doing much because he then summons Typhon, bounces the Baphomet, swings over the Diabells, or not the Diabells, swings over one of my other monsters, and then we get back to me, and I got a Wengu on board. That's all I got. He's got a Typhon. That's all he got. I have no cards in hand, and I top deck right for Patchwork. That immediately gets me into the entire deck. I go into Baphomet dump Tau summon Nightmare Apprentice, Apprentice get Cornfield, etc., etc. I build a fully established Chimera board, and I know that he has 2 cards in hand, and one of them is Snake Eyes Diabellstar. We get back to his turn, and he goes Wanted to get Diabellstar. So 3 cards in hand, and I know 2 of them are Diabellstars. He ends up sending Snake Eye Diabellstar, summon out regular Diabellstar. I negate it with the Sword Knight, and he ends up normal summoning Mourner as his last card. He's trying to go for a level 10, and I just straight Guardian Chimera pop that, and he concedes. So we're X2 on round 5, 3 more rounds to go. I'm a little more confident, especially since I beat Snake Eye. Hopefully we can keep this going. So round 6, I unfortunately lost, and being X3, I ended up dropping. This was the first time in a regional that I have dropped, and that's mainly because I like to just kind of play it out, but in past regionals, even being X3, I still had a chance because the people I lost to were at the top tables. This time around, I was X3, and every single person I lost to had also dropped at this point. So I knew my tiebreakers were not going to creep me in because my tiebreakers were not there. Round 6, I went against Tempai, though, and it went as Tempai goes. Game 1, well, first off, he won the die roll, which is the first time I lost the die roll the entire event, and he chose to go second, so obviously I know what I'm up against. I open a pretty lackluster hand. I try to set things up. He tells me no with plenty of hand traps. We get back to him, and he does Tempai shit. He OTKs me without breaking a sweat. Game 2, I reluctantly choose to go first. I managed to set up a pretty lackluster board yet again, but it was enough to kind of beat him because I set up Simul Archfiends, so he wasn't able to really set anything up, and then we got back to me, and I kind of blew out his board and OTK'd him. Game 3, he chooses to go first this time, and he sets up Fenrir, Seals, and 2 back row. The back row ends up being Imperm, and he never ends up flipping it, but he also had a droplet set. The Seals Imperm Fenrir was enough to win the game, essentially, because I had a horrible hand. So, yeah, I dropped. It definitely stings a little bit to drop. I definitely like just playing these events out, because obviously I'm there to have, you know, get my invite, but at the end of the day, I'm still there to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And have a good time. But I was pretty burnt out altogether. I'm still very low energy right now because I did very poor self-care at this event. I ate breakfast. I didn't eat anything the entire day. I had gone about 48 hours without like legitimate water. I had just been drinking a bunch of soda. And just overall, like, very just poor self-care management. Now, this does sting a little bit, you know, having gone another year and another season of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Without getting my very first invite, but I can also acknowledge I have made great strides at improvement as not only a player, but at deck building, technical play, and because of that, I have to, of course, thank and shout out all of my friends back here at home. I gotta thank Taylor and Kyle for just helping me become better at the game with technical play, deck building, and just thinking of like the value of every card in the deck. They have done so much for me, and I appreciate that. But I also have to thank my friends Tyler, London, Arjun, Jackson, and many more who were just there to play test with me so I could, you know, put what I'm learning into practice, and also kind of being there and helping me theory craft and cook and just call me out when I'm making dumb ideas. This is also probably the last regional I'll be able to go to before the national season and the world season, because there's just not really any available events near me before nationals. I'm going to try and go to like an OTS championship, maybe try to clutch out an invite that way, but overall, not a whole lot more high-level competitive events in the next couple months for me. However, the upcoming format isn't looking too promising. Nationals format is going to be a clusterfuck of bullshit with Infinite Forbidden being out. Hopefully by then we'll have Phantom Yubel, because Yubel will be an insane deck, but also an engine at that point. The Millennium engine will be out from Infinite Forbidden that just helps you get bodies on board. Gimmick Puppet will be an FTK that a lot of people that I know that are in like the higher levels of Yu-Gi-Oh! Play all say that like that's a deck to be feared. It won't be like one of the top decks, but definitely a meta contending deck for sure. But then also Snake Eyes, Tempai will be getting its support, so it'll be an even better deck. It's just going to be overall a really crazy format. Not to mention Fiendsmiths as well, just being run as an engine in literally every deck possible. We already seen it in the OCG, so we're going to see it here in the TCG as well. I would even go as far to say Infinite Forbidden is comparable to Age of Overlord from last year. It's going to be a massive format shift for the entire game. I also do apologize that, again, this wasn't really a vlog per se. I still forgot to turn on the camera and get like B-roll footage and stuff. I tried what I could, you know, obviously what I got will be here in the video, but overall, I did better than the Bainbridge Regional, so there's that. But Still need to get better at vlogging. It's just really weird walking around with your phone out like this, just recording everything and everyone. It gives me a weird, awkward feeling, but I'm slowly getting better at it. All right, so we're just going to really quickly go over the list that I was running for this regional. I'll, of course, explain my reasonings for certain tech choices. And then, unlike most deck profiles, I will go over the side just to kind of explain my thought process and reasoning for why I brought that side deck to this regional. I'm not going to be going over the combos simply because I did just go over the combos of the Chimera archetype in a previous video. And a link to that video will be in the description below, so be sure to check that out if you haven't already. So to start, we are running 3 of the Mirror Sword Knight, the 3 Cornfield Codal, 3 of Gazelle, and 2 Baphomet for the Chimera engine of the deck. Mirror Sword Knight, of course, is your 1-card starter, but also the most fragile part of the deck because if it gets ashed or even called by in a scenario, you pretty much just lose right then and there. We run 3 Gazelle because it's, one of the pieces to Chimera, but also compared to some of the other fusions in the deck, Chimera is the most strict, needing a beast, and we don't really run any other beasts in the deck other than Gazelle. Baphomet, of course, to 2 because it is a brick. You don't want to see it in your opening hand if you can help it. And it's a level 5. You cannot normal summon this card. As for some of the new pieces, we of course are running 3 Nightmare Apprentice, which is actually just the best card in the deck because it is a free body that searches out another illusion card. So if you don't open Cornfield or Mirror Sword Knight, you can use Apprentice to search those out, but you can also use it to search out the Diabelles that we are running in the deck. We only run her at 1 because realistically we are dumping her into the graveyard, and we don't really want to open her. There's some weird scenarios where you can just use her as fusion material to make the Chimera or the Baphomet. But ideally, we don't really want to see her in our opening hand. Same with the 1 Master Tau. Again, this is kind of a scenario where if we open Diabelles and we use her as a fusion material, we can use Baphomet to dump the Tau to revive the Diabelles. Tau is really good. If I was playing a pure build, I'd probably be running 2 Tau because he's not as big of a brick as he might appear to be, because the Baphomet, as long as you have a Fiend or a Beast in your hand, you can kind of use him to make the Baphomet. And also, again, he revives an illusion monster from the graveyard. As for like the last Chimera-esque card in the deck, we are running Emissary from the Wax Museum. He comes up. I do side him out if it's a deck that's just not a good matchup for him, but he does come up to being able to just kind of put a body on board that can be destroyed by battle during the battle phase, and also at the end of the battle phase, he just kind of blanks your entire opponent's board for an entire turn, so that way you can safely go into your turn without your opponent doing cheeky shit. Problem is that on paper, he seems like a direct counter to Tenpai. He is not, unfortunately, because Tenpai has ways to just put him in attack mode, and he only has 800 attack, which means Tenpai is just going to keep beating into him until you die. As for the remaining monsters in the deck, we are running the Patchwork engine, so we have 2 of the Edge Imp Chain. I'm also running Versago the Destroyer. This is kind of a personal choice. I've seen a lot of people running the Light Seal when they're running the branded version of the deck. You can run Versago, you can run Light Seal, you can run the Mating with the Third Eye, I think is what it's called. It's really just a personal choice. I prefer Versago because he's less of a brick, being a Fiend monster, but also he has a lot just versatility being a dark monster as well for like Dracostopelia and stuff. So it's a personal choice, but you can run one of the others. We are then running 2 Fallen of Albaz, and I do run the branded opening package as well, so I run the Despia Aluber. Albaz and Aluber, you both don't really want to see in your opening hand. You run 2 Albaz because you don't want to have your branded fusion be less effective if you do open an Albaz in your hand, but also sometimes seeing him in the open hand is just a really good thing because you can just normal summon him, scoop up a monster on your opponent's board, or just force them to use effects. Aluber helps you get to the branded fusion. For some of the spells that are going to be helping us fusion summon, we are running 3 Chimera Fusion, 3 branded fusion, 2 branded opening, 3 Fright for Patchwork, and 2 Polymerization. The branded fusion is, of course, going to be at 3 because we do want to see it in our opening hand if we can, so that way we kind of have bait for Ash Blossom, but also, obviously, if it resolves, it's just going to help us get to Dragoon or some other very valuable resource. Branded opening, seeing it to get to the Aluber, which can help us get to the branded fusion, or just get an extra body. Honestly, going forward, if I were to play the branded version of this deck, I probably would just cut the opening Aluber package because it never came up. Out of the 6 rounds that I played, it never came up, and when I dropped and played Winamat, then it came up, but I just didn't think that was enough to justify continue running it after this event. The remaining spells in the deck are more of like defensive options. We of course are running 3 Forbidden Droplet. We're building more of a board breaker version of the deck, whereas if we were playing pure, I'd probably play hand traps. 3 Triple Tactics Thrust, and 2 Talents. Thrust, we're going to go over here in a minute. It has a couple of targets in the deck. We, of course, can get Branded Fusion out of it. We can also get Talents, or even Patchwork. Patchwork came up once where I was able to just search Patchwork and continue building a board that was stopped by 3 hand traps. But Talents is also like the better one because it just it's a board breaker, essentially. And then, of course, Droplet. It's good for going first and second. We only run 2 traps in the deck. One is our Fusion Duplication, which we search off of Thrust. We run Poly, we run Chimera Fusion, we run Branded Fusion. There's no real reason why we shouldn't be running this card. It's just more fusioning, but we can do it on our opponent's turn, especially in those weird hands where we only have access to really 1 Chimera Fusion the entire turn. So if we have to use it twice, then we don't get the ability to get it out of the graveyard again. So Fusion Duplication helps us still kind of have a pseudo set Chimera Fusion in a sense. Or if they Ash Branded Fusion and you have a really good hand, you can just go Thrust, set the duplication, and try again next turn. The remaining trap is there can be only one. The deck's playing dragons, it's playing beasts, fiends, illusions, so many different types that there's no punish to running this card, whereas this is just an auto win, essentially, against Tempai if they don't open back row hate. So, like, again, there's just no reason not to be running this. For the extra deck, we are running 2 Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts. Obviously, he's the one you go into first. You can rip a card out of your opponent's hand, but also he chain blocks the other 2 so they can resolve. And also, Chimera, the Flying Mythical Beast, is, you know, his name, essentially. But overall, we run him at 2 because the grind game. Same for Baphomet. We run 2 of him for the grind game. He's the one you go into second, so that way you can get Chimera, the Phantom Beast, into the graveyard. So that way you can also dump a card, either Diabells or Tau. Most likely you're going to be dumping the target off of Baphomet that you're going to be reviving on the next turn with Chimera. Then we run 1 Chimera, the Illusion Beast. Our OTK strategy. You don't need to see more than one of them because realistically, if he gets on the board, you should be winning at that point. As for the branded fusions, we run 1 Mirror Jade, 1 Albion, 1 Lubellion, and 1 Rinbrum. Rinbrum, out of the 4 of these, is probably the one that sees the most play. He sees more play in Chimera than he does in actual branded. Rinbrum just allows you to get Gazelle into the graveyard if you don't open Gazelle or really any of the Chimera cards you need to be seeing, so that way you can use him to search an illusion, most likely Nightmare Apprentice, to get Cornfield, Cornfield to get Mirror Sword Knight, etc., etc. At the entire regional, the 2 branded monsters that saw the most play was Lubellion and Rinbrum. I never actually summoned Mirror Jade or Albion. For the remaining fusions, we do have the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, which we are summoning off of Lubellion. But then we, of course, have Guardian Chimera. Most people run 2. I only run the 1 simply because I only have the 1 until Rarity 2 comes out. When I'm running pure, I will probably run the second one. However, in my personal opinion, if you have to summon the second Guardian Chimera, you should have already been winning at this point, because Guardian Chimera should just kind of be a winning strategy. 1 Predaplant and Dracostapelia. There are scenarios where this comes up, just so that way you can get like Chimera into the graveyard, so that way you can revive stuff on your opponent's turn. Also, you know, having an impermanence in the deck is just very powerful. And then we run 1 Magnum, the Reliever. Again, a scenario where you want to get Chimera into the graveyard, but also it's a pop and a draw one, which is very powerful. Magnum is a massive threat to Tempai, simply because if they activate the field spell, you just hold Magnum on the board until they activate its effect, and then you go Magnum pop the field spell. And so then they're just kind of sitting there hoping that you don't have more stuff to shut them out. I then, of course, have 2 slots dedicated to if I get D-barriered. That being said, I think the branded version of the deck is hurting a lot because of D-barrier being in the format right now. So going forward, if I'm going to play Chimera, it's probably going to be the pure version because of its flexibility. But we, of course, run 1 Chaos Angel. Mirror Sword Knight and Nightmare Apprentice are literally just a level 10 Chaos Angel that is light and dark, so it's just a towers at that point. Very powerful card, and it's super easy to get out. And then 1 SP Little Knight. The deck, of course, because we have branded opening and branded fusion, locks us into fusion summoning. I would say the Baphomet effect locks you into fusion summoning. It does. However, it says for the rest of the turn, unlike branded fusion and branded opening, where it says the turn. So you can kind of play around that, but also in a best case scenario, you don't have to activate Baphomet's effect. you can just not get locked into fusion summoning via Baphomet. So there's ways to play these. Little Knight does come up. Obviously, it's one of the best cards in the game right now. But yeah, I thought I could still try and play around D-Barrier. Unfortunately, you really can't in this deck unless you're playing a more pure version. Sideboard is pretty straightforward. We are running Sideboard is pretty straightforward. We are running 2 cards that are targets for Chimera. Tiger King Wengu. This is really good against Snake Eye. If they don't open the field spell, then they can just kind of keep losing their Snake Eye monsters before they can actually activate their effects. Also, it's really good against Flu. I did expect to see Flu. I didn't see Flu, but I certainly expected to see it. So it's a very good counter to a couple of decks. Fragile, of course, only being 1700 attack, and all it takes to shut it down is an Imperm or a Droplet, but overall, it came up. The other one is the Dark Statue. This never came up. I sided it twice, but it just never came up because when I sided it, Tiger King Wengu was also a side option, so I sided both of them. Just kind of like, most likely, my hope was that I open the Barrier Statue and just normal summon it and then go combo from there. Again, it just never came up is the problem. Also, it's super fragile to our good friends, the Bestials, which are very prevalent in this current format because the Tempai cards are main decking Magnemite, and of course, everyone is siding Bestials to knock out the IP before it gets sent to the backboard by the Snake Eyes. We, of course, are then also running the 3 Bestials, 1 Magnemite, and 2 Jeruis Worm. Bestials are, like I just said, really good at this current format. Magnemite also could get you to Albaz if you absolutely needed that for some reason. But overall, they're just really good for the format because light and darks are still very prevalent in the current format. But Bestials are like the biggest counter to even the pure version because the targets you're going to be special summoning out of the graveyard from Chimera's effect, most of them are light or dark, minus Wengu, who is earth. You have Diabellus being a light, Barrier Statue, who is a dark, Baphomet, who's a dark, Mirror Sword Knight, who's a light. There's a lot of fragility in this deck to Bestials. We then, of course, have Back Row Hate, 3 Cosmic. I side this if I'm going first against Tenpai, because if they just go Field Spell, activate Field Spell, I banish Field Spell. But also Labyrinth. I did expect to see Labyrinth. I didn't see Labyrinth until the Winamat, which was really dumb, but you know, it's whatever. I think you still have to prepare for Back Row Hate, even in a deck like this. We have Guardian Chimera, of course, but I think that's not enough. I, of course, also sided some extra targets for Thrust. I expected to use these going second. However, they literally not once came up. I'm doing 2 Mind Control and 1 Change of Heart. The idea was to kind of just steal opponents' stuff and use them for my own malicious intent. Unfortunately, they never came up. Every time I sided them, I never saw them, and I never saw a way to get to them. Or if I did see a way to get to them, they just weren't the play. So unfortunately, they just never came up. Now, I will probably continue to side these if I'm playing a more of board breaker style deck, because they are just good. Just because they didn't come up this time doesn't mean they aren't good going forward. The remaining cards in my sideboard, of course, are trap cards. 2 Trap Tracks, 1 D-Barrier, and 1 Simul Archfiends. Simul Archfiends is really good. In fact, there is a card that I plan to run in Pure called the Archfiend Hyrus, which, when sent to the graveyard, can search Simul Archfiends out of the deck. So I will probably be doing that. D-Barrier, it's powerful. There's mono extra deck type decks going around right now. D-Barrier is not as good against Tempai as Simul, simply because Tempai is running Cross out, and they side the D-Barrier to expect you to side the D-Barrier. Trap Tracks can search both of them. Trap Tracks, if you don't know what it does, target a monster on your board, destroy it, and then set a normal trap from your deck, and it can be activated this turn. You can manipulate your own board in the sense that you just plan to have a free body to pop on your opponent's turn to search out one of these 2 cards. This came up a couple of times, both times, funny enough, against the Tempai players. Unfortunately, I set D-Barrier against the Tempai player in round 3. That costed me the game. If I just went for Simul instead of D-Barrier off of Trap Tracks, I probably would have won that game, but unfortunately, my dumbass did not do that. But that is all I have for you guys today. So comment below just overall, like, how you did this season. Like, if you're a competitive player or even a casual player, just how big of strides have you made to become a better player? And like, did you get your invite? Are you going to nationals? And also don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you like competitive Yu-Gi-Oh content, but also to help out the YouTube algorithm so this channel can continue to grow. But with that, I will see you all in the next video. See ya.